So we have officially gotten some more rumors, leaks, and speculations when it comes to the PlayStation 5 Pro from Sony. Let's get into the news, shall we? So, there have been numerous leaks, rumors, and speculations on a upcoming mid-generation refresh of a PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, this has actually been going on even before the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X were even announced or whatever at some point. This was way before even the PlayStation 5 and Series X were even announced and launched, even after the announcement of the specs of the current PlayStation 5 that happened in 2018 from the lead architect, Mark Cerny. And they just keep coming and coming and coming and coming with more leaks and more rumors about a PlayStation 5 Pro. But we actually have two different sides to discuss with this upcoming PlayStation 5 Pro. We've gotten some leaks about what the specs are going to be for this monster of a thing of a console, and then there's actually some more rumors and speculations that Sony might actually scrap the PlayStation 5 Pro altogether and just stick with the current PlayStation 5, which honestly, if it comes to that, that's honestly what I think is actually more smart, a more smarter business choice, because even though the PlayStation 4 Pro was very successful, it did not still sell as many as units as the OG or base slim model PlayStation 4 did. And the same thing goes with the Xbox One. Now, granted, we needed those consoles, those mid-generation refreshes from the last gen, but this time around with the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, we actually kind of really don't need a mid-generation refresh for these two consoles because they're technically already powerful as it clearly stands. Now, it's understandable with the PS4 and Xbox One because those consoles were basically not that much more powerful from a Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3. Now, granted, you were getting more 1080p games than you would on the Xbox 360 and PS3, but it's not that noticeable of a difference when you compare 720p to 1080p, as where you can see a clear difference when you compare 1080p to 4K. So, yeah, the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One were basically not that much of a difference from the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. But on the other hand, however, even with the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, the PlayStation 5 and Series X that we currently have is still a noticeable difference, even though they basically play 4K just like the Pro and the One X do. So really, I don't really see the point of even making a mid-generation refresh PS5 Pro. But besides all that, let's go on ahead and let's discuss about a couple of the rumor specs of the PS5 Pro and what it could be very, very capable of. Now, the PS5 Pro, all right, it could have up to basically 20 teraflops, which is insanely more powerful than the current PS5 we have. Like, that is going to be a deal breaker if that is the case. And then we're supposed to also have, it's supposed to be the same 16 gigabyte of RAM, just like the current PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X consoles do. But it is supposed to have 60 group compute units, well, basically 30, but an extending to double of that, which is still going to be insanely great. And it's still supposed to have, it's actually supposed to have RDNA 3.5 instead of RDNA 2 that is in the current PlayStation 5 and Series X. Now, on paper, these absolutely sound like really impressive numbers, and it sounds like the PS5 Pro could be a freaking beast of a monstrous console when it comes to the power and the specs that it sounds like it's going to have. But there is some speculations that Sony might scrap the PS5 Pro, and I could think of a couple of reasons as to why. The couple of reasons is because Microsoft has said that they have no plans to release a mid-generation refresh of the Xbox Series X, which, granted, when you really think about it, it's still really impressive of how much powerful that console really is. So when you think about it, it's just a very smart choice because it's already powerful as it is, and Microsoft doesn't have to worry about making and producing a more powerful console of wasting their money. They could continue to sell the Series X. So that's one thing. And the other thing is because of the Xbox Series S. Now, developers have been carrying on over the last couple of years of how hard that the Xbox Series S is to develop games for, and they can't get games to run properly like they can on the Xbox Series X because of its low power consumption and low, graphics quality and all that. So right there is already making developers work harder than what they already have to do. And then on top of that, we still, as of right now, are getting cross-generation games, even though I think in 2024, 80 to 90% is what I mean to say, 80 to 90% of cross-generation games are going to be gone. Like, straight up. Like, next year is when we officially start only getting games on the current generation of consoles. So, on top of the Xbox Series S, and still, as of right now, developing cross-generation games for current-gen and last-gen consoles, this actually would make a lot of sense, and it would help developers not be insanely stressed because they don't have that many platforms to make their games on or to make work, even if it's a same console generation with a more, powerful version of that console, like the PS4 Pro and One X, because you got to think, developers that are still making last-gen games are making games for the Xbox One, Xbox One S, Xbox One X, Xbox Series S, and Xbox Series X. So right there altogether, when it just comes to the Xbox consoles, it's technically 4 consoles, but with the Xbox One S being just a teeny bit more powerful than the base Xbox One, even though it's technically still the same thing, but they still can work with it, right all along there, that's almost 5 Xbox consoles that they're still making games for. On top, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 4 Pro, and PlayStation 5, so right there are 3 PlayStation consoles, and if to an extent PS4 is still getting support, then when the PS5 Pro comes out, there's 4 PlayStation consoles. So on top of all of that, with the Nintendo Switch and with PC, you're looking at almost 10 to 11 platforms that developers are making games for. So honestly, I honestly do think that Sony, if they are making the PlayStation 5 Pro, it's probably smart to just scrap the platform altogether. I mean, granted, they're going to have 2 PlayStations and 2 Xbox consoles and PC, but at the same time, I mean, do we really need a PlayStation 5 Pro that's more powerful than the base version? I honestly don't really think so, because, I mean, the PlayStation 5 is, from developers, has been the easiest developing console that they are able to make games for real easy without any issues. And that was the same thing with the PlayStation 4, but now it's even better with the PlayStation 5. So, and then you can already get games to play in 4K or somewhat upscale 4K with a smooth 60 frames a second or a locked 30. I mean, I know we would probably be grateful if we had more 60 FPS games, but you get my point. Like, games are already looking good and performing as it is, especially when it comes to Sony's exclusives, and even to an extent, the select few Microsoft exclusives like Forza Horizon 5, Halo Infinite, and Starfield might get a performance mode. I don't know what's all going to happen, but as of right now, Starfield is only going to run at 4K 30 on this Series X and 1440p at 30 on the Series S. So right there on paper, the Series S and the Series X are still going to look incredible, gorgeous when it comes to games. Some developers are just lazy, in my opinion, and just don't know how to work with the Series S like some other developers do. And then there's some developers that have called other developers out and said, look, the Series S is not as hard as you're making it out to be. So honestly, I honestly do kind of think that if we do get a PS5 Pro or whatever, then honestly it's just going to make developers a bit more stressed out and more frustrated, because then they're going to have another platform they have to develop a game for. So honestly, if it's true and Sony does scrap the PS5, I think it's going to be the smart choice from Sony, because if Microsoft is not developing a mid-gen cycle for the Series X and developers are having a hard time for making games, certain developers anyway, for the Series S, I mean, do you really want to blame the developers for this? Honestly, no. And personally, like I mentioned, I still think the Series X, PS5, and even to an extent, the Series S as well, I just think that they're still powerful as they can be. And not making mid-generation refresh for the current generation is going to help out Sony and Microsoft sell more consoles, and as well help developers make perfectly good-looking games without having to stress out of changing things up on certain different consoles with different power conceptions. So, honestly, the PS5 Pro, with those specs, seems like it's going to be an even more powerful upgrade of a current generation console than it was from the PS4 to the PS4 Pro. But Sony might also scrap the PS5 Pro altogether, and I think that that's probably the smartest choice from Sony, and Microsoft not going to make a mid-generation refresh of the Series X, with having already that with the Series S and the Series X being the more 4K powerful upgradable machine. I just think that this would help out developers, and it would help out consumers of not releasing a mid-generation refresh, and especially with how already powerful that still the current PS5 and Xbox Series X are still in 2023. But yeah, I just think it's going to be smart for Sony to not make a PS5 Pro at all. I think it's just smart to stick with the current PS5 for the rest of this console's life cycle, and it would help out developers, and it would be the smartest choice for consumers just as well. So that pretty much is going to do it for the video today. So leave us your thoughts down in the comment section down below if you like the PS5 Pro rumored specs, and if you're going to upgrade to it when it comes out, or if you are somebody that honestly thinks and agrees that Sony should not make a PS5 Pro and should scrap it if they're still in the middle of development of it. So yeah, just leave us your thoughts down in the comment section down below of your thoughts of the PS5 Pro's rumored specs, and if you think that Sony should just go on ahead and scrap it anyway for reasons of like developers not having a good time developing games for the lower Xbox Series S. But that pretty much is going to do it for our video for today. So rate, comment, and also subscribe if you are new, and we will keep you posted with more content like this going forward. But without further ado, This is Tech and Gaming Reviews. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. Rate, comment, subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.